Welcome to WinMoJo.co. My name is Phil. Today we're going to be taking a look at keeping your system healthy, keeping your hard drive empty of files that don't need to be there, and what cleaning your registry means. So for this step, we're going to have to log into our actual administrator account. If you watch some of our previous videos, we created a user account and an administrator account. When we're going to be affecting the system files, it's really a good idea to be in the administrator account, or you're going to be typing your password in all the time. So it's just better to log in as your administrator. So here we are in our administrator account. We're going to go ahead and take a look at a couple of programs. For that, we're going to actually need to download some goodies, and we're going to talk about a few things. But for starters, I want to show you guys something that comes native to Windows, and it comes with all Windows operating systems. I think since XP, maybe even before. 98 SE may have had it. If you're still using the 98 SE, this probably is not going to help you much. You have bigger problems. You have bigger fish to fry. When you open up, when you go to Start Computer, it's going to open up this window here. If you right-click on your hard drive here, and you go to Properties, it's going to give you an option right here that says Disk Cleanup. And this is going to be step one that we're going to show you. So clicking on Disk Cleanup will bring up a quick, quick being relative to how big your hard drive is, but it will scan your system. It'll look for files that could possibly be deleted, and it will tally them up for you and give you some options as to what you may or may not want to delete. I'm going to show you a couple tricks here. They're going to help you actually get at more files than the initial scan takes a look at. But I'm also going to give you a caveat with that explains why it may or may not be a good idea to do what I'm about to show you. And so we'll talk about that too. I'm going to go ahead and let this scan. For time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video recording, and we'll be back once it's done. Okay, so the system has finished. I'm going ahead and looking through all the files, and it's basically looking to see if there's any downloaded programs or temporary internet files. Offline web pages is another one that I like to check. Oops, I didn't have the window selected. There we go, offline files. Recycle bin is another one. Setup log files. I think it's probably pretty safe to get rid of. Temporary files are definitely safe. Thumbnails I normally don't get rid of. And the reason I don't do that is if you got a lot of album art on your MP3s, or if you have a lot of photos, it'll make thumbnails so that you can see them in the different views. And instead of having it recreate those all the time, it's just better to leave the ones that it's already created. User queried Windows error reports I like to clear, and then system archived Windows error reports I also like to clear. Now that being said, here's a button what we're going to talk about. It says clean up system files. If I click this button again, or rather if I click this button at all, it's going to go back and rescan the computer for some other opportunities to delete files. For the first pass here, I'm just going to show you this without clicking that button. So right now you can see here we've got about a little under 7 gigabytes of space free. If I go ahead and click OK here, it's going to go through and ask me, do I want to delete these files? Yes, I do. It's going to go through all those things. I'm going to grab all the files that it flagged as deletable and the ones I told it to delete, and it's going to delete them. Now we have a little bit over 7 gig. So we got rid of quite a bit. Now we're going to run that same process again. We're going to click Clean System Settings Files. Now it's going to go back through. Now it's going to take another pass at the hard drive and say, okay, let's look for all the possible system restore points that are on the system. So system restore points we talked about a little bit in the previous videos, where every time you install a piece of software or you install some upgrades, it kind of takes a snapshot of the system before you install that upgrade and saves it as an archive position. Those can really start to add up. You can have a ton of those. And now we'll go in here now. We have totally already cleaned this one, so we've got about 7.21 gig free. So if I go over here to more options, and you come down here, it says system restore and shadow copies. If I click this cleanup button, what it's going to do is it's going to delete every restore point except for the very last one that I did. So the last thing I installed will be the last thing I can roll back to. Once I've done this, that's it. I am pot committed. I can't go back any further in time than the last system restore checkpoint. The downside to that is if I have a problem with the system tonight and it was something I installed before the last one, I will never be able to roll back to it. It's never happened to me. That doesn't mean it can't. It just never has. I like to get rid of all these extra system restore points. So I'm going to click clean up. And yes, I'm okay with it deleting them. Let's just see what happens here. We'll go back over to System Cleanup, and we will go ahead and hit OK again. Delete files. See what happens. We gained a little bit of space here. Now on a system now this is a brand new install, so there weren't a lot of shadow points or system restore points to gain access from, but you can recover several gig of information if it's available in these shadow restore points. So that's a good first step in cleaning your system up. So we'll click OK. So that's all done. Now moving on to two tools I think you should definitely have and download on your system, and I'll show you where to get them so you know that there's safe versions of those. The first one is called ccleaner, and I'm going to go out to download.com, which is run by CNET. You can see I've been there before. It's going to resolve over. Again, we're getting this little plugins thing. I don't need to worry about that right now. And then I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to type in ccleaner. Well, ccleaner, I should say. It's not ccleaner. ccleaner, it stands for crap cleaner, believe it or not. They don't. A lot of people don't know that. We're going here, and it's going to show us a list of all of the programs that match my search. There it is. Download now. And it's going to say it's going to start in a moment here. And there it is. We'll save it. View downloads. Let's go look in our download folder. Actually, we'll click on downloads there. Here was our VAST when we had downloaded and installed the VAST. We don't need that anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. It's just taking up hard drive space. Okay, ccleaner is done. We're going to go ahead and run that. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to click Run as Administrator. It's going to prompt me yes. And then English is my preferred language. Next, agree. I'm going to recommend some changes here. I do not like it to add these particular things. I don't mind adding this desktop menu and the start menu icons, but I do not like it attached to the recycle bin. Right click. And then I don't care if it checks for updates. That's always a good thing. So next, again, watch out for those toolbars. Here it is. Let's uncheck that and we'll click install. And then we're going to go ahead and just run ccleaner now. What ccleaner is a tool that acts a lot like the Windows tool we just used. Yes, recommended. It does a couple things though. We talked about registry once before. Registry is kind of a list of all the programs on your computer that are installed that your system has access to run, has certain settings set for those programs, etc. So when I click on this registry button and I click scan for issues, it's going to scan the registry. Before we do that, and we'll come back to it, here's the regular cleaner. Now this cleaner goes through and does pretty much what we just did with the other cleaner, but it has a little bit few more options to it. You can actually look at specific programs and scan things. You can go and hit all the Windows stuff. If I click this analyze, it's going to go out and it's going to basically do what the disk cleaner did, but it's going to dive a little deeper into some of the internet files, Internet Explorer files that I have on my system, etc. So let's see, take a look, and you'll see that there's another 116 megabytes of files that it says can be cleaned off. I'm going to go ahead and run the cleaner. Gonna let it do its thing. And then I just got back another 117 meg. Now for the registry. The registry, this is the only way I recommend dealing with your registry, especially if you're a novice. We're going to scan for issues. It's going to go through the whole registry. It's going to see, and I'm going to tell you something. Even the Microsoft installed updates will sometimes leave behind bad registry stuff. Here you're seeing framework stuff from the last upgrade we did. This is the old framework stuff that's been replaced by the new one. Here's the Silverlight stuff that's been replaced with the new one. All this stuff is just like bad instructions inside that registry that it has to process every time that it doesn't ever use. We're going to click Fix Selected Issues. Do you want to back up your changes to your registry? You can do yes, and you can save those registry changes if you want to be extra cautious. I feel confident that I know what I'm doing. I'm going to click no. You should click yes and save them. It's not going to hurt you. It'll just be a way to get the changes back in if you feel something went sideways. But I don't think it has ever done that to me in the entire time I've been using ccleaner. That's why I use it. It's really simple. Then I'm going to say fix all selected issues. So there were 54 issues that were fixed. So next time I boot up the computer, it's not going to have to read those extra 54 lines of registry, and it will give you a micro amount of performance improvement. Now, if you have 500 lines that come up on ccleaner and you clean them all out, it's going to run even that much faster when you boot up. So that's ccleaner in and of itself. And we'll close out right there. And then we'll pick up the next one. Okay, the next thing you can do to help improve your system performance, and you've probably heard about this before, is defragging. Now, if we go back to my computer again, we right click here and we go back down to properties. There is a tool on the tools tab called defragment now. This is a great defragmenting tool. It works pretty well, and if you actually leave your system on overnight, Windows will automatically try and defragment your drive on a regular basis. Okay, another tool you're going to want to use in lieu of that defrag tool that's built in, I like it a little bit more. It's called mydefrag. I'm going to go ahead and search for it here. Mydefragment 4.3. Mydefrag.com is the site you want to go to get it. You're going to click download. And you're going to click right here. We're going to save it. We're going to open the folder. And again, we're done with ccleaner, so we'll delete that too. There's no reason to keep it on the system. Wait for this to finish downloading. It's got another 27 seconds here, 28, excuse me. Okay, that download is done. We're going to go ahead and run it. Again, I'm going to right click. I'm going to run as administrator and click yes. This just assures that we're not going to get any permissions issues. English, yes. Next. I accept the agreement. Read the agreement in full before you accept it, or just resign yourself to the fact that you're not going to be using the software without accepting it. Go ahead and install everything. It's not going to be a problem. Mydefragment 4.3. I'm okay with all of these settings. You can also choose to select and activate mydefrag when the screensaver runs. I don't run the screensaver, so I never select that. And then we'll click install here. And we'll finish it. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and minimize all these windows. And if you want to minimize all windows at once, by the way, you can hit the Windows key and the M key, and that will minimize everything at once. Right click, run as administrator on mydefrag, yes. And then I'm going to say, okay, now we've got some choices here. I like to select the drive that I'm going to be messing with, and then hit defragment only. Oops, defragment only, and then the drive, sorry, and then run it. And what it'll do is it'll actually take and scan through the drive and say, okay, this drive, which happens to be 20 gig in my case, but it'll be much bigger in your case, is going to be X% fragmented. Now we're going to let this run here. It's going to go through, take a look at what files are, and fragments on a hard drive, by the way, are chunks of data that are just unrelated, well, not necessarily unrelated, but they're grouped. So you can actually optimize your drive too to put all of a particular program's files in the same sector of the hard drive, so it's all in a row. So the drive doesn't have to jump around on the surface when the reader is reading it. It can just stay in the same place and read everything in order as it is in that particular sector. This is really what it's trying to do right now, is take and find little chunks of data that don't fill up an entire block of the hard drive. And if you want more information about blocks and bytes, there's plenty out there. And it's going to take and compact those all together, all those little chunks, into full blocks, and basically make the drive a little bit less fragmented. It'll be more complete. So, I mean, I think on an optimize and defrag, it'll do 3 full passes. It may just do 2 on this defragment run. We'll check here real quick. But we'll do some time traveling here probably in the video to get you guys to the end of this. And there you have it. It's finished. I lied. It did 1 pass when you defragment only. You have some other options here. We'll go back into defrag real quick and just show you. But that one, if you run that one alone, that in and of itself is going to help your system run a little smoother. Be careful on solid state internal drives. There's some rules about defragmenting and things like that that you're going to want to look into. It's not something you should mess with. Running all these different programs and these habits, if you do this about once a month, you're going to find that your system just stays working well. Tends to operate very cleanly as long as you're using good judgment when you're downloading things online. And it gives you a lot of great performance improvements. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Again, I recommend you do that every month. If you have any questions, be sure to email me at winmojo@live.com. I'll be happy to answer them for you. And that'll do it this week for winmojo.io. My name's Phil. Thanks for tuning in.